Launch.
Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is the crisis at the Salvation Army, and we're fortunate to have with us to talk about some of the challenges at the Salvation Army, Major RRaymer. Major RRaymer is the major and the area commander for the Salvation Army, and with Major RRaymer is Mr. Mike Survey. At the Salvation Army. And of course, Major RRaymer and Mr. Survey. Some information about your background, your education, and some of the things that were important in terms of eventually leading the two of you to where you are today. And I think that this is especially important for you, Major RRaymer, because I understand that you are relatively new in this particular area, but certainly you're not new to the Salvation Army. So let's talk about your background and education. Mr. Survey will do the same thing.
I was just going to say, the first crisis that hit me was the fact that I've only been here for about 2.5 weeks now, and just trying to figure out where I live and where the office is, and of course all the challenges of that. For those of our watchers, our listeners who have experienced that, they know just the problems that are related to that. I've been a Salvation Army officer for 21 years now, but I think it's interesting that we have had the opportunity to actually come back to Nashville, because this is actually where my mom and dad met, was right here in this city at a Salvation Army program, and they got married here. In fact, on my dad's side of the family, I have a lot of family members that live right here in Nashville, so in a sense it's like coming home. Even though my folks, once they were married, moved off to Tampa, Florida, and that's where I was born and raised, in that part of the United States. I'm a fifth-generation Salvationist. That is to say that I'm number 5 in the generation of those that have been involved with the Salvation Army, particularly through the religious part of the Salvation Army, its church, and the involvement that is there. I have 2 brothers and sisters. Actually 7. There are 7 of us, but I have 2, a brother and a sister that are also Salvation Army officers. My wife and I, Sharon, met in high school, and we became high school sweethearts at that point, and of course got married, and God laid his call upon both of our lives to become Salvation Army officers. And in 1980, we went to training to become Salvation Army officers, where we spent 2 years in an intense training study, like a seminary, to become Salvation Army officers. Since that day, we've served in several appointments. We were associate pastors in the Salvation Army Church in Miami, Florida. Went from there to be the pastors of 3 churches in Georgia, Toccoa, Georgia, then Brunswick, Georgia, and in Athens, Georgia. And then from there, the Salvation Army saw fit to allow us to work with children exclusively, young children as well as teenagers, where we had the opportunity on their divisional headquarters to serve in the youth department, where we would run summer camps and do various we need to I turned mine off, by the way.
We're behind you all the way, Major.
Behind me all the way.
Okay.
Anyway, where I had the opportunity to run summer camps and youth retreats for teenagers, we did that for 7 years, both in Mississippi and in the state of Texas. And then from there, we went to the business side of the Salvation Army, where for 5 years in Baltimore, Maryland, my office was responsible for overseeing all of the legal activities of the Salvation Army, the human resources, employees, the property concerns, and insurance concerns. So you might imagine that was a pretty hefty responsibility there. And what God has saw fit to set us free from all of that.
Okay.
And we have finally made it back to what I would consider the South, and made it back into the ministry of the Army, which is at the grassroots level here in Nashville, and we're just excited about that.
Very good. And of course, Mr. Survey, we're coming up to our first commercial break, and that gives you about a half a minute to make some statements in reference to this.
That's why I had somebody call on the phone. So
yeah, okay, so what we'll do after our first commercial break, we'll give you an opportunity to come back in to deal with some additional information. Let's start off now. Your position is marketing
and
director,
resource development.
What does that mean?
That means whatever it is we need in this Army, in this area, I have some responsibility to try to gather. Volunteers, money,
and anything else.
Anything else.
Okay, and of course what we'll do, gentlemen, we'll take this first commercial break, and then we'll come back and give you an opportunity to talk about some of your experiences, and then we'll talk about some of the problems and challenges that the Salvation Army face. And of course we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short. The topic is